The story of ancient Greece is often told as one of grand achievements of philosophy, art, and democracy. Yet beneath the surface of this illustrious civilization lay a history marred by internal strife, bitter rivalries, and wars that would forever change the course of the Greek city-states. The Greek world, though united by language, religion, and shared heritage, was deeply divided, and it was these divisions that ultimately led to its decline. Part 1. Seeds of Discord. At the heart of Greek civilization was the concept of the polis, or city-state, each a distinct political and cultural entity. From powerful Athens to militaristic Sparta, from the wealthy Corinth to the pious Delphi, each city-state valued its independence fiercely. This independence, however, created a landscape where alliances and rivalries shifted constantly, driven by territorial disputes, trade competition, and political ambitions. The roots of internal conflict stretched back to the early days of Greek history. As cities grew in power, they sought control over neighboring territories and trade routes. Corinth and Athens vied for dominance in naval commerce, Thebes and Plataea clashed over land, and Argos, often isolated, oscillated between alliances with Athens and Sparta, hoping to gain an advantage. This jockeying for power fueled mutual distrust and fostered an environment where conflict seemed inevitable. When the Persian threat loomed in the early 5th century BCE, the Greek city-states managed to put aside their differences temporarily to unite against a common enemy. Together, they achieved remarkable victories, most notably at the battles of Marathon, Salamis, and Plataea. However, with the Persian threat diminished, the unity quickly unraveled, and the seeds of discord bore bitter fruit. Part 2. The Rise of the Delian League and Spartan Suspicion. Following the Persian Wars, Athens established itself as the leader of the Delian League, an alliance formed to protect against future Persian aggression and to liberate Greek cities under Persian rule. The League, headquartered on the sacred island of Delos, initially operated as a coalition of equals, each member contributing ships, money, or soldiers. But as Athens' power grew, so did its control over the League, which it began to treat less like an alliance and more like an empire. Athens' rise to power worried Sparta, the dominant land power of Greece and leader of the Peloponnesian League. While Athens prided itself on democracy, trade, and culture, Sparta valued discipline, austerity, and military strength. Sparta feared that Athens' ambitions would threaten its way of life and independence. The city-states began to view each other as existential threats, with Athens determined to expand its influence and Sparta resolute in maintaining its dominance. This rivalry finally erupted into open war in 431 BCE, marking the beginning of the Peloponnesian War. For nearly 3 decades, the Greek world was consumed by a brutal conflict as Athens and Sparta fought for supremacy, each drawing on alliances and attempting to sway other city-states to their side. The Peloponnesian War took a devastating toll on Greece, weakening its economy, exhausting its military resources, and, more importantly, creating deep divisions that would prove impossible to heal. Part 3. Civil Strife and the Stasis. The Peloponnesian War intensified the stasis, or internal strife, that plagued many Greek city-states. Political factions within the cities, aligned with either democratic or oligarchic ideologies, seized upon the chaos of war to vie for power. Pro-Spartan factions, favoring oligarchy, clashed with pro-Athenian democrats, leading to violent uprisings and civil wars within the cities themselves. In Corcyra, modern-day Corfu, the conflict between democratic and oligarchic factions became one of the war's most brutal episodes. Supported by Athenian and Spartan forces, respectively, the rival factions engaged in a bitter struggle that devolved into massacres, purges, and betrayals. Neighbor turned against neighbor, and families were torn apart by political allegiances. The violence in Corcyra was a harrowing example of how the Peloponnesian War had ignited flames of internal discord that burned as fiercely as the battles between Athens and Sparta. Such internal conflicts were not limited to Corcyra. In Thebes, Argos, and other cities, democratic and oligarchic factions fought for dominance, leaving scars that would last for generations. This period of stasis revealed the underlying tensions in Greek society, where loyalty to political ideology often outweighed loyalty to one's fellow citizens. The city-states, weakened by infighting, struggled to mount effective defenses against external threats and to maintain stability within their own walls. Part 4. The aftermath of the Peloponnesian War and the fragile peace. The conclusion of the Peloponnesian War in 404 BCE left Athens defeated, but it did little to bring lasting peace to Greece. Sparta, having achieved military victory, found itself burdened with the task of governing a fragmented and hostile Greek world. The Spartan leadership attempted to impose oligarchies, like the infamous 30 tyrants in Athens, but these regimes often faced fierce resistance and collapsed soon after their establishment. Sparta's attempts to maintain control over Greece were met with resentment, and its inability to adapt to the demands of governance further eroded its authority. The brutality and imposition of oligarchic rule left many Greek cities even more divided, creating opportunities for old rivals to re-emerge. By the early 4th century BCE, Athens had restored its democracy and began to rebuild its influence, while Thebes, long under Spartan shadow, rose as a new power, challenging Spartan dominance. In 371 BCE, Thebes delivered a stunning blow to Sparta at the Battle of Leuctra, ending Sparta's supremacy and establishing Thebes as a dominant force in Greece. This victory, however, did not unite the Greek world. Instead, it ushered in yet another cycle of conflict as Thebes, Athens, and a weakened Sparta struggled for control. The city-states, embroiled in constant warfare and unable to establish a lasting peace, remained vulnerable to outside forces. Part 5. The Macedonian Conquest and the End of Greek Independence. The decades of internal strife, factionalism, and exhaustion paved the way for a new power to rise: Macedon. Under the leadership of King Philip II, Macedon took advantage of the divided and weakened Greek city-states. Philip used diplomacy, military innovation, and a well-trained army to bring Greece under his control, finally achieving what generations of Greeks had failed to do: uniting the Greek world under a single ruler. In 338 BCE, at the Battle of Chaeronea, Philip's forces crushed the combined armies of Athens and Thebes, cementing Macedonian dominance. The Greek city-states, which had once fiercely defended their independence, were now under the influence of a northern kingdom that they had long considered barbaric. Though Philip allowed the cities to retain some autonomy, the age of the independent polis was effectively over. Epilogue: Lessons from the struggle and the enduring legacy of Greece. The internal conflicts of the Greek city-states, which had once seemed so crucial, eventually gave way to the rise of larger powers. Yet, despite the fall of their political independence, the ideas born in Athens, Sparta, and other Greek cities endured. Greek philosophy, art, and political thought became the foundation of Western civilization, inspiring the Roman Republic and continuing to influence societies around the world today. Part 1. The fragmentation of the polis and the cost of disunity. The Greek city-states' failure to form a lasting alliance underscores one of history's most profound lessons: the cost of disunity. Although Greece achieved extraordinary heights in culture and learning, the lack of a united front left it vulnerable to external conquest. The long-standing rivalries between Athens and Sparta, Thebes and Corinth, and democrats and oligarchs reflected the Greeks' deep-seated attachment to their local identities and ideologies. This attachment, though a source of pride, ultimately contributed to their decline, illustrating that even the most advanced civilizations are susceptible to internal divisions. In hindsight, Greece's fragmentation stands as a warning about the dangers of prioritizing local rivalries over collective security. While the city-states' diverse cultures and governments fostered innovation, their inability to find common ground undermined the very achievements they had worked so hard to build. Part 2. Greek influence on the Macedonian Empire and beyond. Though the Macedonian conquest marked the end of the Greek city-states' autonomy, it also ushered in an era of Greek influence across the known world. Alexander the Great, having been tutored by Aristotle, carried Greek ideas of governance, science, and art with him as he marched eastward. His vision for a Hellenistic world, where Greek culture mingled with the customs of Egypt, Persia, and India, marked the beginning of a global age. Cities like Alexandria in Egypt became centers of learning and culture, blending Greek thought with Eastern philosophies, a fusion that would resonate throughout history. As the Macedonian Empire gave way to the Roman Republic, Greek culture continued to thrive. Roman statesmen and thinkers revered Greek literature and philosophy, seeing Athens as a wellspring of wisdom. The Romans adopted Greek gods, borrowed